Khan. All right, Shalom. Before I begin, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the men whom I've learned this truth from, the apostles, and the elders of Great Millstone. And also, I'd like to say Shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. All right, so I'm the brother Shaquat from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. Back with another lesson, and this lesson, that I'm gonna be going into today, it's gonna be a lesson, something that the elder apostle Gabar had mentioned a few videos ago, and that's understanding the reason, why you are in the ministry, understanding why you're doing what you're doing, why you are in servitude to the Most High, right? Because it's easy to lose track of that, man. But you always have to keep that in the forefront of your mind of why you're in the ministry of Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shai, and that's also synonymous with your first love, right? You remembering your first love, and your first love is what? The first time you heard about this truth, right? Matter of fact, let me begin with that real quick before I jump into the lesson. Salakia, bear with me while I pull it up. Yep, so this is Revelation chapter 2 and verse 4. And it says, matter of fact, I'm going to start out verse 2. Revelation 2 and verse 2. It says, I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil. And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and has found them liars, right? So this is one of the letters, to one of the churches that Yahweh Shai told the angel to write to, right? And this was the church of Ephesus. Yahweh Shai is commending them, how that he understands their work and labors and their patience, and how that they cannot bear those that are evil, right? And they have tried them which say they're apostles and are not, and has found them liars, meaning they rebuked, people that gave themselves the title of apostle or of a high standard, a high status, as that jumped to become an apostle fast. They rebuked them and found them liars, right? So that's something that Yahweh Shai commended them. Their hard work, them hating evil, and their them speaking out against liars, those that are falsifying things, those that are false, and that's also rebuke, calling out things, right? Verse 3, that's it says, and has borne and has patience, and for my name's sake has labored and has not fainted, right? So once again, this is Yahweh Shai giving props to the church of Ephesus, right? But it's not just props. There's also another a flip side of the coin, right? Things that they weren't doing, or things that they were short of, Verse 5, it says, remember therefore from whence thou art fallen, and repent, and do the first works, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou repent, right? And what is that first works? That first works is their first love, let's see real quick, Salakia. Right? Their first time being on fire, man. I can't find the precept that I'm looking for, but there's a precept that speaks about your first love. But that's a good one, man. Going to show you that, hey, you got to remember how fervent you were and how zealous you were when you first heard the words of Yahweh Bashim Shai, when the truth was presented to you, right? And what made, what certain thought process that that you had first time hearing it, most likely, I speak for myself, but I feared, I was excited that, hey, I'm an Israelite. I rejoiced, right? But I also feared, and I wanted to be refuged, man, because it was sweet. The message I received was sweet, but it was also bitter. Bitter, not knowing that, hey, you might not be a part of the elect. You don't know if you're a part of the elect, and you don't know if you're going to be delivered or not, right? That's the bitter, man. You don't know, right? But there's things that you could do to be in better standings, with the Lord, to better fit that side of being delivered and refuged and covered, man, right? But, that mindset that you had in the beginning is the mindset you're supposed to have, not, seeking vainglory, not seeking the preeminence, man, not seeking other things, man, not seeking money, not seeking fame, right? Not speak for myself. I don't, that's not even in my mind to want to be famous in the, in the truth or anything, man. I'd rather have one follower, really, to be honest, I just want one follower, man, And I was, the spirit of the Lord, had it where I was like that in the world. I ain't really like fame like that, That's not my thing. I'd rather be in the background, just, out of sight. That's what I would rather prefer, But that's the spirit you're really supposed to be in, man. Not looking, for fame, and not trying to obtain riches through the truth, man. Not trying to climb the ladder to become, an apostle. Not your goal shouldn't be that, man. Your goal should be serving the Lord sincerely, and hoping to be delivered, man. Doing the things that you got to do to be delivered, to be saved, right? So let me go from there to the book of 1 Corinthians. Chapter 3, and I'm going to start out verse 1. It says, "And I, brethren, cannot speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Hamashiach. I have fed you with milk and not with meat, for hitherto ye were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. For ye are yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal and walk as men? For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal?" Right, so this is a cut to, those that exalt their teachers, right? It's a carnal thing to say, oh, yo, he's my teacher, That's why the apostles often push, hey, don't, just, their mindset is, yo, look at me as a brother, man. Don't look at, because they don't want man praising, right? Because that's evil, that's carnal. When you praise somebody, it's a difference between praising somebody and commending somebody, man, and respecting them, right? Because when you commend them, you're respecting, you respect them. That's why we give double honors, right? We respect these men. You still don't treat them like regular men, but you shouldn't worship and bow down to like that. That's not what the mindset you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have respect and reverence towards your teachers, but not to the point, where you're praising them and worshiping them, man. That's what you're going on, right? And that's what this church was doing, the church of Corinth, right? They were praising Apollos and Paul, and that's the cardinal mindset, and that also goes to show you that, hey, that's when, if you're a teacher, that's not the status you want to obtain. That's not what you want, for people to praise you and people to be under you. That's not what you want. That doesn't matter, man. That doesn't matter, right? But you have people out there that this is their mindset. They want people praising them. They want people worshiping them. They want people under them, you know? But that is not the mindset that you're supposed to have, man. Right? So let me read verse 4 again. It says, "For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? Who then is Paul and who is Apollos, but ministers by whom ye believed, even as the Lord gave to every man?" Right? So Paul is saying, yo, me and Apollos are just men. We're just workers, man. Right? Just like any other worker that the Lord set up to everybody. That's what he's basically saying. Right? Let me look up that word ministers in the regular Google definition. It says minister, a member of a Calgary, especially of a person or thing used to achieve or convey something, right? You're a vessel, ultimately, that the Lord chose to use to what? To teach others, to water others, to raise up others, man. And that's all it is, a vessel, right? It's like, yo, a machine, right? And the Most High is the one that built the machine, and he put the battery in the machine to work and produce other machines or work on other machines, right? But once that battery is taken out, then that machine stops working, and that's the case with the men of the Lord, right? They're just machines, vessels with with batteries put in them by the Lord, right? So you shouldn't praise the vessel. You're supposed to praise the one that created the vessel, right? That's how it's supposed to be. Verse 6, it says, "I have planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase. So then neither is he that planted," right? If I may, I just add on to that point, between Apollos and Paul, right? The reason why it says Paul planted and Apollos watered is because the Most High gave Paul and Apollos different talents, right? As far as being teachers, right? Because the scriptures, when you go into Apollos, the way he taught people was an enthusiastic way of teaching. It was, it was a spectacle almost it was almost like, yo, persuasive. He was able to persuade lots of people, going into it, reading about Apollos. I remember reading a while back, but the way he taught was so powerful that, it convinced a lot of people, but it was different from how Paul taught, right? That's why it's like Paul planted, Apollos watered, Apollos took it to that next level, basically. But it goes to say, but the Most High gave the increase, right? So even though Paul might have planted and Apollos might have watered and took it to the next level, you won't grow, you won't increase unless the Most High gives that order or sanctions you to increase, right? In other words, it has nothing to do with the men that are teaching. It's really through the Most High that you're planted and watered and increased. That process is completed through the Most High. So who are you going to praise? The one that planted or the one that watered you or the one that increases you? It's the one that increases you, the one that allows you to grow, man. Because you could be planted and watered, but nothing can spring up from the soil. Right? Showing you the Most High has that control. Showing you the Most High is the one that you have to worship, not the vessels he used to plant and water the seed, man. Right? verse 7, it says, so then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but the Most High that giveth the increase, right? So them that plant and water, they're nothing. The Most High is what's important, right? Continuing on, it says, verse 8, now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. Right. For we are laborers together with the Most High. Ye are the Most High's husbandry. Ye are the Most High's building. According to the grace of the Most High, which is given unto me as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon. But let every man take heed how he buildeth. For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Yahushua Hamashiach. So matter of fact, Salakia, let me grab a real quick precept. In the book of, just trying to stick to this point as much as possible. This is the book of Philippians, chapter 1, and I'm gonna start out verse 15. It says, some indeed preach Hamashiach even of envy and strife. Right. So some men become teachers because of envy and strife, meaning they want to start things. They want to, like, debating. Some men are simply teachers to debate. Become Israelite teachers to debate, man. All right. And that's not good. You lost track of the purpose of the ministry if that's your mindset, right? Because that's not the purpose of the ministry. The purpose of the ministry, like Yahweh Shai said, is for you to capture fish, right? And you debating and being envious and strifeful is not contributing to you collecting fish, right? It says, some indeed preach Yahweh Shai even of envy and strife, and some also of goodwill. Right. But you also have some that are out there teaching in sincerity. Teaching simply because they're doing what the Lord commanded them to do. Right. And because they want to be delivered. That's a sincere mindset, man. Because they want to please Yahweh Bashima Shai. Not for any other reason. That's of goodwill. Right. Verse 16. The one preach a Mashiach of contention, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bonds, right? So if you're teaching Yahushua for contention, you're not doing it sincerely, man. You're not sincere, right? And when you go into that word contention, it says heated disagreement. In other words, a debate. You using that knowledge that the Lord gave you for you to, start problems, man. Just so you can, prove a point with other people, man. Which it was like that at one point, like for myself, first coming into the truth, that was the which I lacked knowledge, right? I lacked knowledge because the reason why I thought I had the truth was to, just cuss out everybody, just to prove everybody wrong. No, that's not true, man, that stubborn and zealous spirit, right? But that's not how you're supposed to be, man. Especially once you come to the true understanding of what the truth is about. Because I was ignorant back then, right? Coming into the truth. But now I understand that it's more than just, proving people wrong. It's more than that, man. It's more than, you having a heated debate with the Christian and, getting that one up on them. It's more than that, man. Right? So let me get this real quick. In the book of Galatians 1, and verse 10. It says, "For do I now persuade men or the Most High? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, I should not be a servant of the Most High, man, of Yahweh Shai, right? I should not be a servant of Yahweh Shai, right? So you're not supposed to be in the truth because you're trying to persuade the next man, or, trying to, kiss up to the next man, trying to, but you're just supposed to be trying to please Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai, man. You're not trying to appease men. You're not doing it because, I know this person's watching, you're not doing it because of that, man. You're doing it out of sincerity, trying to please Yahweh Shema Shai, knowing that that's who's going to save you, the Lord, man. But, hey, man, that's the lesson. I'll end it off there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect. I hope, what the Spirit gave to me to convey made sense. Until next time, Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.